been one of those days. I haven't done a vlog in a long time in terms of discussing disability rights and inclusiveness and living with disabilities, but it's time. Those of you who have regularly watched other videos that I've done probably know that I have 3 kids with special needs. But here's the struggle. I have 2 with autism, and I think most people can agree that's a pretty life-altering disability, and that diagnosis affects one's life at home, at school, in their community. It can affect their overall health, their well-being, their education, how to live, their social skills, communication skills, cognitive abilities, problem solving, behavioral supports, or behavioral choices, everything. But my other son has mental illness. He's got severe anxiety and bipolar. And that, my friends, is not so easy to grasp and easy to understand. And we're at a spot right now where we really are struggling. And not so much with his behaviors as much as we are struggling with his education. You see, he doesn't fit anywhere. He's not a typically developing child in terms of his needs. So putting him in a mainstream school sometimes can be difficult, and just your mainstream classroom probably is not always a great fit. And so he's been in special programs. The last one that he was in one that was for behaviors, and unfortunately he's delayed enough that was in middle school, that wasn't a good fit for him because the kids knew things that my son wasn't ready to learn. Sexual things and life things and all kinds of borderline adult issues that he shouldn't have had to learn. And while he was there, I had reached out to the principal of the program where the other 2 were at, and they happened to have a spot that was Regents bound for Camden's age. And we moved him, knowing full well that this was an autism program. So it probably wasn't a perfect fit, just a better fit for the time being. Well, he'd been there for a little while. Excuse me. And it came to the point where he was now at the high end of social skills. He was holding his own academically. He still needs some supports. He still needs some academic modifications. He needs some time. He benefits from close quarters in terms of being in that 611 setting while he's learning specific subjects, especially math. And this program is also speech-based, which he didn't need, but got anyway. Fast forward to now. There is another program, much like the ones he's been in. It was a 611. These kids are behavioral challenges, most of them, I'm guessing. And it is next door to a tech program that he wants to apply for and hopefully get into next year as a junior. So we thought moving him this year, getting him acclimated to the program, and he can kind of see what the tech program is about, would be of benefit for him. Oh boy, were we wrong. Oh, we were so wrong. I can't even begin to tell you how wrong we were. Almost immediately bullying started. Instantly. And I don't tolerate bullying, as most of you probably don't either. And I called the school and I emailed and I reached out to people and I quickly got on top of it so that it would not continue. And it was pretty extreme, almost borderline sexual harassment type bullying. And sadly, it isn't quite as extreme as it had been, but it's still continuing. And my son's behavioral choices have been impacted huge. He is now barely staying in class. He has left the building a few times and crawled in a window to get back in, which is not anything he had ever done before. I don't know that he's ever left a building like that. So not only is he having issues with his peers, it's impacting the way that he learns. It's impacting the way that he behaves. It's impacting his choices. He's afraid. This is a program where the police are called regularly. The bullying continues. It's silly name calling, right? I mean, that doesn't hurt anybody. That's what people say. It does impact him. He's afraid to ask for help because when he asks for help, then, he gets a snide remark from a peer about how dumb he is or how easy the work is or whatever. So it embarrasses him and makes him feel stupid. So he doesn't want to ask for help. And I think that's what people miss. People stop and think. Please, people, stop and think. Just because it seems minor does not mean that that's the way somebody portrays it or feels it or how it impacts them. So you can call me a bitch. You can call me dumb. Frankly, I don't give a damn. But my kid, he does. And he might just kind of giggle about it and ignore that it was said. But then almost immediately he leaves the classroom and he's calling me and begging me to pick him up and bring him home. Keeping him in school is impossible. And here's the purpose of this entire rant. He's that kid who gets missed. I'm at my end. This is not a good program for him. This is not where he's going to be placed. This is not going to continue. Because on a whole, it's just not the right place for him. He will not find success in this program, sadly. But there's nowhere for him. I fear being in a typical classroom with 20 kids and having to move for each subject and be in the hallway with hundreds of kids. Even if he could hold his own behaviorally, and I'm not sure he can, I'm afraid he's going to get lost academically. But in districts, the smaller classrooms, which I think he needs, are geared towards kids with major learning disabilities. So he's not a fit. The special programs are geared around developmental disabilities and academic delays. So you're looking at different diagnoses. You're looking at the cognitive and the developmental. What about these kids with mental illness? There's got to be someone here who will be completely flexible with their program, with his IEP, and with the way that they teach him. There's got to be somebody who wants him to find success just as much as we want that and just as much as he wants that. But he's 15. And we've been around the block. He's been in 2 regular school districts and 3 special programs. And I don't know what's next. I hate this for him. There's nothing worse than a 15-year-old who calls every day in tears and begging to come home. I hate that kids are such assholes, that bullying happens. I hate that there's such a stigma on mental illness in this country. But most of all, I fear that this is a kid that's going to get missed. He's going to get left behind, and he's going to struggle his entire life. And that's the last thing I want for my kid. And people are going to turn their backs on him, and they're going to blame him, and they're going to blame us as his parents, and I'll gladly shoulder that responsibility. But rather than look at the problems that we have as a society, we look to judge one another. So judge my parenting skills if you must. Judge him and turn your back because he's got a mental illness, which is what we do in this country. But before it's too late for my kid or for your kid, we need to come together. We need to end the negative stigma on mental illness. We need to embrace people who are different. And we need to start looking at our education systems so that we can better educate everybody. I know in the grand scheme of things, people might think, well, it's one kid out of hundreds of thousands of millions of kids across the country. But it isn't. I might be the one you're hearing about right now because I can be loud and obnoxious, but he's not the only. There are many, 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 many kids who get left behind and ignored and forgotten about. And you would think that that wouldn't be okay. So, as we struggle through this journey of getting this kid in school where he's learning and happy and successful, I will share with you. I will share our struggles and our successes, and hopefully together we can learn how to better educate and better accept everybody. So, if you have questions, let me have it. If you have suggestions, I'm all ears. If you just want to share a similar story or a struggle, that's good too. Until next time, guys.